Welcome to Bottom Male Romance Podcast, where we celebrate all things male romance. I am Jessica.
And I'm Markie.
And this is our October top episode.
Yes, before we get started, I do have to remind you, we have reader groups. We have one on Facebook and one on Goodreads. You can jump in at any time and talk to us about our bottom picks for the month, cool comic book series that you found, a good book series you want us to pick up, anything related to romance or general silliness. You could dive in at any time to talk to us. We also have a Patreon. Our patrons get inside information about upcoming interviews that we have and get a chance to submit questions to said interview person. So if you haven't had a chance to check it out, make sure you do so.
And if you haven't already done so, make sure you rate us on whatever it is you listen to us on. It helps other people find us too.
Yes, so this is going to be a crazy month for Top to Bottom podcast.
Yep, we are doing completely off book. We are not doing a bottom pick. We are not doing a side banana. We are not doing a fresh banana. We are introducing a new segment.
Yes, indeed. The reason we're doing this, just in case for whatever reason you're jumping in on the 1 month that we're doing weird shit, me and Jess, notoriously October is a very, very busy month for us. One, it's because Jess is the queen of Halloween and she always has like a kick-ass Halloween party at the end of the year, and it takes her all year to like gather cool Halloween shit for this party. She also got married on Halloween or around that time, so it's also like this is why the Halloween party is such a big fucking deal. And it's also GRL month.
Yes, very much GRL month. So there's travel, and Markie's going the first time as an author, so this is even more insane for her than normal. We have other outside of GRL and Halloween things going on as well. So for the sake of our sanity, we are taking this opportunity to introduce our new segment, which is going to be a new ongoing thing. We have our bottoms, our book of the month. That is our bottom of top to bottom. So now we're going to have tops.
Yes, this is fun. I'm actually shocked that we didn't come up with this sooner. We've only been doing this, 2 years or something like that?
Yeah, I am legit disappointed in us for taking this long to think about it.
Yeah.
Basically what this is going to be, we're going to be doing an extended version of it now on this intro. October is going to be the big introduction of tops. We're going to be doing a top 5 on this top episode, and we're going to be doing a top 5 on the bottom episode. Normally we'll do a top 3 just to kind of fit into the top episode so we can have some fun discussion around some of our top 3 favorite this, that, or the others, top 3 favorite, alpha characters, or top 3 favorite moments of GRL, which will probably happen in November, and things like that. Just various things that are top favorite, various related goodies.
These can kind of go all over the spectrum. Like I love that we're keeping it kind of open because it's not good. I think most of them are probably going to be book related, but since we're keeping it kind of nebulous, we can kind of do top 3 of whatever, which is fun. So I'm very excited about it.
Yeah, me too. We are going to give away what our top 5 for the bottom of the month is going to be. We'll leave you in suspense for that. But is there anything you want to talk about before we jump into our first round of tops?
I guess I won't wax too heavily on GRL because we bring it up a shit ton. So if you have been listening to our show, sorry, I'm going to talk about it again. We're pre-recording these shows. So both the top episode and the bottom episode is going to be before we go to GRL, which is crazy to me because when this airs, it's going to be, normal. But by the end of the month, we'll be like in the throes of experiencing GRL when this, like, our bottom episode airs. And it's just, I'm so nervous excited about this year. And I've been so, like, I looked at the calendar before we started recording so I could pull up my notes for the show. And, like, since it's now officially October, I can see where, like, the calendar's marked off for GRL. And I'm like, ugh, like, it made my stomach hurt and I got excited all at the same time. Like, this year's GRL is always so exciting, but this year is so important because 1, I get to go as an author, which is like a dream thing, and 2, you actually get to fucking go with me this year. Like, I'm so jazzed about that.
Me too. I am super, super excited to go and meet everybody we've been talking to, or at least a lot of them, and just get to see a lot of the listeners and readers and stuff. I'm super, super stoked. So please, if you see me, we'll probably try to post like a selfie or something because we're road tripping out there. So if you follow along, so you'll know what we look like. So if you see us, please say hi.
I can't promise that we'll be like top tier extroverts, because we
Oh
might
no,
be.
I'm introverted as hell, but if you come up to me, I'm all about it. So
Yeah. So I'm going to try to be as extroverted as I can while we're there, so we can because book people, our tribe are usually pretty introverted people by nature. Like these are the people who want to go home and read a good book. Like I get it, right? Like I am that person, but since I know that most of the people going are introverts, I have to be extra outroverts so I can make sure to reel people in who might be uncomfortable approaching people they don't know. So if you do see me and I don't immediately just like, hey, just know I'm probably exhausted. But like, I do want to meet anybody who's like followed the show, or even if you guys just want to talk about book stuff like that. We cannot wait to be with everybody at JRL this year.
yeah, so yay GRL. And
Mm-hmm.
now our first iteration of Tops. So I
Yes.
will say that the original idea is it was going to be like a countdown 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. But for our first round, we're doing our top 5 favorite couples. My problem was that once I narrowed it down to my top 5 favorite, I couldn't rank them. I
Yeah,
might
that's
be able to,
insane. That's an impossible
yeah,
task.
I don't think I can. So we're just going to, in no particular order, talk about these. I am going to guess before we start, because we don't talk about this, or we've agreed to not speak about this before we recorded. I'm going to guess that we have 2 overlaps with a possible third overlap.
That's a good guess.
Because I know your number 1 is actually not on my list because I wouldn't allow it because I've only read one of the books. Because I know who your number 1 is without asking.
Mm-hmm.
And I know who your number 2 is, and I think that's my number 1, but we're not going to, again, in no particular order.
You know me pretty good. So
I do know you pretty good, but nobody else. No, well, actually, that's a lie. If you've been listening for a long time, I don't know that any of my picks are going to be a surprise to anyone. And I really tried to not do it this way, but like, I clearly, if you've listened long enough, know I have like absolute favorite authors that I just believe hung the moon, and I will read everything they ever put out, and I am in love with their characters, and a lot of this is going to be repeated when we do our bottom episode, but you know, you love me, it's fine.
well, and like it making this list was incredibly hard because there's so many amazing, especially doing this podcast, right? We read so much amazing authors who we didn't know before we actually picked them up for the show, you know. So having to pick just 5 after 2 solid years of us like just kicking ass on reading all these great books was really hard. So honestly, I feel like we could have done a top 20 and I'd still would be like trying to figure out like how to rank people.
Yeah. Well, one of the things we did to kind of limit it a bit was 1 couple per author.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to pick my favorite TJ Klune couple, which was really, really difficult. And, you know, with other authors as well. But like, just as an example, because everybody knows I'm completely nuts about TJ Klune and all of his damn characters. So like one couple per author. We will enforce rules like that in future tops. It'll just kind of depend on what it is and what we feel like doing. So we also would love to hear your feedback on this. Who are your top 5 favorite couples, and what do you think about ours? Yeah. So how do you want to do this?
I don't know. Do you want to?
Okay. Aside from your number 1, which I know is your number 1, what couple do you think you have on your list that's not on mine?
I think I've got. I think you were correct in your estimate. I think we probably have at least 2 overlaps, and then the rest of them, I don't think we match up at all.
Okay. So give me one of your ones that you don't think matches with mine.
Ash and Kale.
Oh, I took them off. They were on. They were on my list. They were on my list, and I actually last minute changed them out for somebody else that I will say next. But yes, they were literally on my list, and I removed them like an asshole. But yes, so tell me why you love Ash and Kale. I completely agree.
Okay, so Ash and Kale, this is from Rack and Ruin from Charlie Cochet. I had to remember which book it was. I almost was just like thirds. I'm like, no, bitch, what's the book title? So yeah, Rack and Ruin by Charlie Cochet, which is part of the 3rd series. If you've been listening to us for more than a second, you know that we're both nuts about Charlie. She's amazing. But Charlie's one of those authors that like helped me get to writing. Like after reading her 3rd series, I was like, why, yes, I do love hilarious shifter books. Oh my God. But Ash and Kale in particular, I really love their relationship dynamic. I love that Kale is this sweet, smart, precious thing, and Ash is this bastard. Like, I really love that style of relationship. And of course, the fact that it's kind of hinted early in the series that they kind of like, at least Ash has a thing for Kale, and like he's always around him and he's always just like, I mean, I'm not gay or nothing, but this guy's cute, that kind of stuff. Like I dug it a ton. And of course, I don't want to spoil too much in case, for whatever crazy ass reason, somebody has not read the third series, but there's some stuff early in the series where you're not terribly sure if Ash is a good person and or like one of the good guys per se, and that really like stressed me out because I immediately wanted them to, like, I shipped them so hard, you know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
so when I finally got to their book, it did not disappoint. I fucking adore the hell out of the book. It's really funny, and I really appreciate that Charlie leaned into the trope of like this sweet thing and this big mean guy. Like it works so good with them. So it's one of my top tier favorite couples. I love them.
Yes, me too. I absolutely adore them too. I actually would have guessed that if you were going to pick a thirds couple, that you would have picked Calvin and Hobbes, because I know wasn't that your favorite of the series?
You know what? It's weird. I was, when we were making this list, Calvin and Hobbes, I think I loved their book more, like their story, but I still think Ash and Kale are my favorite couple, which is really weird because their book is great. I mean, all the thirds books are great and all the characters are great. And like Dex and Sloane, like Dex is my baby. I fucking love that guy. But like, I really liked Kale and Ash as a couple.
I'm so amused because I can't believe I took that off of my list. But who I replaced them with, I think you will, if they're not on your list, which I didn't think that they would be, but I don't know why, was Damon and Laurent from Captive Prince from C.S. Pacat.
Yep. They are on mine as well.
Oh my god, okay. We have a lot of overlaps. So I think that
they're super one of my favorites.
Yes, Captive Prince was, if I'm not mistaken, my absolute first MM romance, wasn't it? I think it was.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, so extra close place to my heart there. Just aside from the fact that the story is so beautifully written and I love historical stuff and it was like historical fantasy. I love so much about the story, but man, the ride that those two took me on, and then the payoff at the end, I don't really want to say too much because if you haven't read the Captive Prince series, you really, really, really need to, and you need to go through that journey yourself. But their journey as a couple, and again, where they ended, because a lot of times where they ended is, happy, but not necessarily satisfying. This was really satisfying. And God, just because at the beginning, I didn't like, you guys need to, step away from each other kind of situation for a lot of reasons. Again, I'm not going to spoil anything if you haven't read it. There was no way in hell I thought that was going to work in a way that I was going to buy into, but I fucking bought into it and I love them.
Yeah, 100%. I was right there with you with every single feeling at the beginning of the book, because people, of course, this is one of those books that gets recommended constantly. Like, no matter what kind of genre of MM that you read, you could be like, hey, I only like super contemporary stuff, and they're like, okay, I hear you, but Captive Prince. Like, it's just, it's one of those things. I equate it to like the Book of Mormon. Like, I would go door to door and be like, have you heard the good word of Captive Prince? But it starts off so fucking rough, like so rough. And so I'm thinking, like, I was like, there's no way, one, that they're going to be able to sell me on a relationship that I could get behind. That's not going to feel fake or forced or weird or like too far into like non-con or something. You know what I mean? Like I was really worried it was going to take a really dark turn really fast. And there are some pretty serious elements to the story. They don't pull punches on some like heavy shit. Their relationship goes from this dark thing to like this elaborate twisty plot that I remember. I will never forget finishing the second book, and I was at work and I text you and was like, I don't know what to do with my fucking self right now. Like, I was upset.
Yeah, that was before, of course, I had read it, and I had no concept for what you were doing, but I do remember you said you had yelled at the author, and so that's fun. But yeah, and I remember getting to that point, like, no, why, how can you leave it here? What is happening right now? Like, I didn't see that coming, and This is all our ploy. You need to read this trilogy. So good. Love that couple,
Yeah.
Damon and Lauren.
And they're all
Fantastic.
out now, so you don't have to
Yes.
suffer. Like, I'm so glad that we found them when the third book was already out, so we could just like inhale all three books. Because if we got into them right when she was like releasing them, I would have not made it.
All right, what else you got?
Okay, so, well, I mean, you kind of called it, but the first ones I put down were Ty and Zane.
Yeah.
I mean,
as much as everybody knows I am obsessed with TJ Klune, they also know you're obsessed with Cut and Run and Ty and Zane. It's no secret.
Yep, they are my absolute super favorites. I think one of the big key factors is that they were one of my first MM romance books. Not the very first, but one of the first ones that like put the hooks into my soul kind of thing. I still love them. I'm not big on rereading or re-listening audiobooks just because we usually don't have time to do those shenanigans. That series I will start to finish read and listen to all of them just whenever I can. I love them so much. Their relationship dynamics ridiculous. It's a static couple throughout the entire series, and them growing as characters is insane. Like they go from really both of them being hot damn messes and every sense of the word, but into these really rich, fantastic characters with so much depth, and their relationship between each other becomes this unseverable thing. And they go through some shit, man. Like, I know you haven't read all of them like I have, but like there's some books that I thought they were going to kill me because their relationship gets really strained at some point.
Yeah, I don't I don't know that I can handle that, but I will say that my experience with them, their kind of first moment of coming together is still one of the most impactful for me in any MM romance. So I definitely can see how they would definitely become one of your best.
You know, and I just realized too, as we're like gushing about these characters, people who have no idea what they are probably like, okay. So Ty and Zane, they're FBI agents, and they're both very different. They have to work together, so it's that trope of like, you know, he's your partner now. God damn it! Like you're gonna work together. I say so, kind of thing. Zane is a very by the book, super serious dude, and Ty is like this crazy ex-Marine dude who's just kind of a little off, and it's really funny. And then, of course, as you learn more about them, you learn that Zane's got like some really dark, crazy ass past, and so does Ty, and it's really kick ass. And they're both like top tier, super trained, badass dudes, and I'm so nerdy about that crap. I've talked about it before, but anything with like FBI agents and cops and shit like that, like it does not take much for me to be like, I'll read that if it has any of those elements.
Definitely awesome, Ty and Zane. So one I think that is on my list that maybe isn't on yours. Okay, so I had to pick a Gail Carrick or something, and it was a really tough pick because so I love Max and Biffy, or Biff, or I forget Biff, just Max and Biff. Yeah, that's it. I love a lot of the characters, and there's a lot of queer characters to choose between. You know, with the fifth gender out and everything. It was just really difficult for me to not pick Biffy and Lyle, though. From Romancing the Werewolf from Gail Carriger, Biffy and Lyle are werewolves that come from the Parasol Protectorate series that is a het romance that you kind of get a will they or won't they, or how are they going to come together kind of thing, kind of mid-series. And then the series ends, and because it's not about them, we didn't get to see their ending. And finally, Gail Carriger came out with their story as Romancing the Werewolf, and it's freaking great. It's a novella. I believe we did that for a bottom pick at some point.
Yeah, I think we did. We partnered it with something because it was short, and like I think we made it like a side piece kind of thing.
Yeah, we did that with the Sumage Solution.
That's right.
Yeah, just a couple that I had been rooting for forever that I just was so happy to see them come together and get to see their story. I love those characters a whole lot, and then seeing them happy together as a couple was just brilliant.
Yeah, I almost put Max and Biff on mine just because the Sewage Solution is great, and like that book, it is funny and very, very remnant to Gail's wit and charming dialogue with her characters. And of course, her characters are these ridiculous, well-rounded, fabulous people. So it was tough. I think them and Isaac and Tank were both really, really good too. Man, that would be tough. Like, because Max is hard to top because he's
No, he's not.
Yeah. Because he's so funny and,
Well,
whip
I
smart.
mean,
and stuff.
if we're gonna go on favorite characters, that's different. And
Oh
it's
yeah.
it's so hard to not. I mean, again, I had to pick one per author. I made my choice, damn it. But yeah, I absolutely adored it. Him and Biff together or Brian. Him and Brian together were super awesome. But standing by Biffy and Leal on that one.
It's a good call. I stand by that too. So it's a good one.
All right. Now, I think it's possible. There is a chance for overlap on my last three with yours. I don't know if I know at least one of them will for sure. The other two are definite possibilities, but I'm interested to see what else you got.
Okay, well, I know for sure one we do not share, but I'm guessing that we both have Gus and Casey.
Oh, absolutely, Gus and Casey. From
Yes.
How to Be a Normal Person and How to Be a Movie Star as kind of side characters. But yeah, from TJ Klune.
Of course. So picking one couple from TJ Klune was almost impossible, but How to Be a Normal Person is one of my all-time favorite books. I love that book so hard. And Grumpy Gus and Casey are just, I don't know if a book has made me laugh out loud like that book has. And like, Gail's funny as shit, and so is Charlie. Like, they can write some top tier humor, but Gus is so Gus. And like, Casey's so Casey. Like, it's the back and forth they have with just Gus trying so hard to not be abnormal and strange and weird, and Casey being just so high all the time. It just, I adore the shit out of these two.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I completely agree. I don't really know what else I can say about them that you didn't already. Their dynamic is so great, and then the continuation in How to Be a Movie Star. Their interactions there, the way Casey gets all defensive over Gus, when the wrong questions are asked, and then, man, without spoilers, that ending though, their relationship makes my heart explode and also laugh a lot. So love them.
Yeah, well, because it's so sweet. It's so sweet. Like, they overcome so much just to be able to be together, and nothing like catastrophic and world ending. It's just themselves, you know what I mean? To like be able to bridge the gap and really just connect like they're supposed to. And it's just because they're both just so fantastically perfect for each other that sometimes they both miss the mark horribly. Like, it's beautiful, and I love it to death.
Agreed. So the other two I have, I think, I don't know. I feel like it's possible that they may overlap, but I don't know for sure. So I want to hear one more of yours.
Okay, well, I've only got one more left.
Two left. Nuh-uh. Oh, yeah, because we overlapped.
Yeah, we overlapped.
I have two left. I have two left, so I guess I'll pick one. I wonder which one is more likely to overlap than the other. Probably this one.
I guarantee you this last one you don't have, so there's no more overlap. Is it something? Yeah.
Oh, well then I feel superior. So, Max and Nicomedes from the Dominus series.
Nice. Good one. I like that.
I had to pick a couple between Gaius and Allie or Max and Nicomedes, and for reasons I will not super go into for point of spoilers, I had to pick Max and Nicomedes. They were so incredibly sweet together. I absolutely loved what they have, and that whole thing, I just really don't want to talk about it a lot.
It's hard to not spoil anything. I appreciate how hard you're trying.
Yeah, but I adore them. They have stood out, and like they have a place on my heart, like burned and scarred into my heart just from my journey with them, and I adore them completely as a couple.
Gaius and Allie were almost, is it Gaius? I think it's Gaius. I always say his name wrong. I'm such a dick. I think it's Gaius. Gaius and Allie were like, they were on the list and they got shuffled around when I was like, oh, well, I really want to put this one on there. And so they're like kind of my honorable mentions because, I mean, I'll love J.P. Kenwood forever. Like, I adore her series so much. And Gaius is like my dude. I love him. So, but Max and Nick, yes. The burning on the heart thing, 100%. I can't say anything because I'll spoil things. But yes, good. Read that series.
Yes, super good. Yeah, so we each have one left, yeah?
Yes, we each have one left.
I'm
Drum
really
roll.
surprised that this. I'm really surprised that this last one I have wasn't on your list. But you won't be surprised that it's on mine.
Yeah. What is it?
Then guess. Tell me who you think it is, because it should be obvious.
I'm gonna assume it's probably gonna be Matthew and Tarek.
Yeah, you know me too well.
Yeah, nailed it.
So Matthew and Tarek from the Beautiful Monster series from Jex Lane. I think I read these almost directly after Captive Prince, and Jex Lane's humor is definitely in my heart, like seared in it as well. And Matthew as a character is one of my favorite characters of all time. And Tarek is a sexy motherfucker, and their relationship together. Like, I don't like non-con stuff and I don't like dark shit, but oh my God, this is dark and there's some non-con, but God damn it, I love this dynamic between them. It's still kind of up in the air on how things are going because we're waiting for the next book in the series. Holy crap, I love them.
Yeah.
And cannot wait to see how their journey continues, but their dynamic is just fantastic. His sarcasm with Tarek trying to be all classy and shit, so great.
Yeah, no, it's again, this is another couple that I fiercely wanted on the list, and things just kept getting shuffled around. Like on it, like we stated at the beginning, picking 5 is insanely hard because, like, I'll go ahead and say I don't have any of Sloane's people on mine, and like I love Sloane and Lucy. Neither one of those are on my top 5. How is that even fucking possible? So it's too hard to narrow it down. But I Matthew and Tarek, I agree with you. I'm not super into super dark shit, and I really don't typically like non-con and dubcon kind of stuff. It's usually not my jimmy jam unless somebody could do it really well. And Jex is my bar as far as like how it's supposed to be now. So with those tropes, but I cannot wait for Blood Prince, and I know she's busting ass to get it out, so I'm excited.
Yeah, I really think it's Matthew's humor that really seals that one between the two, like between like that couple. And this, for any other BMO fans listening, yes, I am absolutely Matthew and Tarek over Matthew and Devik. Fight me.
Yeah, I mean, I get it because we could have a whole episode just talking about this, but yeah, I feel like Matthew and Tarek are supposed to be together like 100%, even though Tarek is a dick. Like, I get it. I understand why people don't like him because he's a bastard, but like that's why it's good.
Oh, but God, there's so much depth there. So much depth. Read these books. They're great.
I know, man. I know. So good.
Okay.
Like, I want to write like Jex when I grow up.
You're right? That's serious goals.
Yeah,
yes. Right? Yeah, so what do you have? What is the last on your list?
Okay, so the last couple I have on my list is actually a book that you have not read, and I know I've talked about before, but it was like when the podcast first started. And the couple is Jack and Dee from Zero at the Bone by Jane Seville. Now, the reason I bring them up is because I realized when we were making the list for our bottom episode that they swayed me in a direction I didn't realize that they did. So when I was charting out my list...
Before you say that, doing my second list also shaped my couples list. That's where shit got rearranged.
Yes, yeah. It had a big influence because I had to really take a hard look as to like why I was putting certain things down and ordering them in a certain way. And I was like, oh shit, this book is why this. So the premise of this book is that Hitman D gets a contract to kill this guy named Jack. And so he's like super good hitman, like no nonsense kind of dude, right? So he goes to kill Jack and realizes this guy is like not anybody he typically kills. He's like, Jack is like this really sweet, scared out of his mind doctor and not like a big mafia dude or a pedophile or anybody bad. He's like, this is just a guy. Like, I can't do this. So instead of taking him out, he like is like, well, shit, come with me. So he like just kidnaps the poor guy. So he's this gruff, mean hitman who has this sweet doctor guy with him. And Dee is very closeted in his like sexuality and like he hasn't really explored that side of himself. And Jack is a very open and out gay man and is just scared out of his mind about what's happening. And so like through the course of the book, he like their relationship grows together because it's like a forced proximity kind of thing. Like they have to be together because otherwise like somebody's clearly trying to kill Jack and then Dee just doesn't want the guy to die because he seems like a nice dude. And of course, like as the story progresses, they end up together, but it's it's a pretty slow burn because Dee is like, I can't get close to this guy. I might have to kill him. Also, like, I don't like boys. You shut up. So it's really good. And it was one of the first romances I read, if not the first one, shockingly enough, because I didn't read Captive Prince and stuff first. I was reading all these other recommendations before I landed on like Captive Prince and Cut and Run and all this other stuff. And Zero at the Bone was it's a standalone novel from an author who I don't think writes anymore. So it's one of those ones that just floats around in the romance circles, but it seems to be a lot of people's first book. Like people who've been writing and reading romance for years and years usually start with this book. And I didn't know that until recently because somebody had brought it up and they're like, "Oh yeah, like 10 years ago I read this." I was like, "Oh shit, I know that book. I love that book." So we'll have to pick it as a bottom pick at one point because I haven't read it in years, but I loved the shit out of it. And it's great.
Awesome.
Yes.
Well, cool. So that's our first round of tops.
Yeah. And I think we did a pretty good job. Like there's some overlap, obviously, but we've got some wacky cards thrown in. And I'm actually shocked at where we landed with some of our overlap characters too. So it's good times.
Yeah. Let us know what you guys think about this, who your favorite couples are, what you think of our favorite couples, what you think of the segment in general. If you hate it, I apologize. You get at least one more because our bottom episode is going to be another round. But hopefully you guys like it, and it'll be shorter. We'll do top threes, and it won't be a 40-minute long endeavor every time we do it. But it'll definitely be something fun, little countdowns that we can do for you. And if you have recommendations or suggestions for different tops that we can do, that would be awesome as well. And as a side note, if you've listened this far, I am looking for horror. Yeah. Actual scary horror, not vampires, because vampires tends to get a little more romantic, like seductive kind of vampire. I want a horror romance. If anybody can find any, you will be finding more than I can. So definitely looking for recommendations there. So let me know.
Excellent. So yeah, we've rambled on for a long time about things we really like. We'd love to hear about y'all's favorite things. Shoot us your recommendations on topics for tops. And I guess we'll see you guys at the end of the month.
Yep. Bye.